Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. All right, listen up, y'all. This show, it's about this brother named Blue. But more than being about him, this show is about what he did to this woman that he said he loved. Now, her name was Sarah, right? And she was a young girl when Blue met. And Blue was young too. But Blue was already a street dude. I'm talking about he was in the streets. And over the course of 6 years, being in a relationship with Sarah, they had four kids. Four kids. I mean, back to back. Back to back. And he did that because he really didn't care for her like he put on, but he didn't want anybody else to have her. And that's going to be pivotal for you to understand throughout this story so that you can understand him and people like him a lot better. But he put four kids in her throughout the 6 years that they were together. He was verbally abusive, physically abusive, but he would always make her believe that it was his fault, or her fault, excuse me. And by her drinking the Kool-Aid and believing that it was his fault, or at least making him believe that it was her fault, she would always give in and do whatever it is that he wanted her to do. And most of the time, that involved her not hassling him about coming home at odd hours of the night. That involved her making sure that whenever he came home, that he had a plate on the table. It was so bad at one point, whenever she heard the car pulling up in front of the house, she would jump up out of bed, run to the kitchen, prepare the meal, put it on the plate. You feel what I'm saying? And throw it in the microwave real quick, just so it would be warm when he got in. And she'd be standing there at attention, almost, waiting on him to come through the living room and into the kitchen. And then most of the time, when he came in and he come through the kitchen, he didn't even eat the meal. He would look at it and say, I already ate. I've already had something. And she could smell the perfume coming off of him. So he would walk into their bedroom and immediately go take a shower because he smelled of another woman. So it wasn't that he cared that she would be able to tell that he had been with another woman at that point. He didn't care at all about that. He just wanted to take a shower and be clean before he laid down to go to sleep. And many a night, while he lay in the bed sleep, she would look at him while he was asleep and ponder in her mind what she should do. Should she get up and leave and take her four kids with her? Should she do something to him while he was in his sleep? Many a night she boiled hot boiling water with grits in it, boiling water with baby oil in it, only to pour it down the sink, not having what you would need inside of you, that anger, that real true hatred. She didn't have enough of that in her to do that to him. And she didn't want to be taken away from her kids because she loved her kids, even though he did. So one night, he just happened to come home. Listen to me now. He just happened to come home without saying a word. Went into the bedroom, grabbed a couple of suitcases, packed up everything that he owned, threw some money on the dresser, and without saying a word, he walked out. And 2 months go by, 3 months go by. She didn't see him, didn't hear a word from him. And the money that he had left her was running out. There's no way that she was going to be able to take care of herself, the bills, and the kids on what he had left her. There was a stack of money, but it wasn't enough for that because she didn't know how long he was going to be gone. And he had done this from time to time, but he would never be gone this long. So she started to ask in the streets about where Blue was at. Had anybody heard anything about Blue? Because nobody had seen him for months. Turns out, Blue had gone to another state and got caught up on some charges. And he was in jail. Didn't bother to call or anything. He's just disappeared. The kids were wondering where Dad is at. You know how kids are. They're asking all types of questions. They don't know what's going on. They are afraid that everything is going bad because they start to notice that the refrigerator is not full of food anymore. Dad is not coming around. Mama's crying all the time. What's going on? These are babies. They don't understand all of that. They just know that it's not right. And she would always console them, putting her feelings, her emotions on the back burner because she loved her babies, telling them it's going to be all right. Lying to him at times, telling him that Daddy was away, he'll be back, he was gone to do work outside the state, so on and so forth. Just lying to just enough to make them stop crying. So, one of the folks that knew Blue, he pulls up on Sarah one day and he tells her, look, if there's anything that I can do for you, let me know. I'm there for you. I know brother didn't treat you right, but I got your back, and I'll help you out. Now, this brother here was a stick-up kid. He likes to set up drug dealers and all of this kind of thing. Now, Sarah, even though she had 4 kids, listen to me when I tell you, y'all, beautiful, beautiful woman. And so, folks, he propositioned, he said, look, we can get some money together. Ain't got to be nothing about no sex. We can get some money together. So she asked him, what are you talking about? So he proceeded to tell her about how he, in one of the ways that he gets money, how he gets money out the streets. He sets up these dope boys. And when he set these dope boys up, he get them. But he was using the women to set them up. See, that's a hustle that a lot of people, they hear about, they see it on TV, but they don't really know nothing about it. But let me tell you about it. See, a lot of dudes out there in the streets, they'll put a female on you, right? Or whatever you like. And it's a slow, patient hustle because sometimes it takes months to find out what's going on. And Sarah, as long as she could come back home every night, she was okay. So this is what happened. He knew this dope boy that had money, but he also knew this dope boy liked to freak off. So he put Sarah on it. And Sarah did her job. You understand me? Turned him all the way out. Got him to the point to where he trusted her and needed her help to move some things up and down the road, right? Now, she wasn't interested in trying to mule anything. She wanted to know where was the money at. Because this dude was major, had plenty bread, shaking the spot, and everybody knew it. And he always kept a beautiful woman on his arm, and he had multiple women around the city that he catered to, and they catered to him and had kids all over the place. But Sarah didn't want any more kids. So she always made him wear protection, or she was taking the pill, whatever she had to do to make sure that she didn't get pregnant again. But she had no problem in freaking him because she was trying to get his trust. So after about 3 or 4 months, he needed her one day. He makes a call and said, can you go by the house and go pick up something for me? So she says yes. So when she gets to the house, he said, you call me back when you get to the house. So when she gets to the house, she calls him back and he says, look, I need you to go into the bedroom, move the picture, and it's a safe. He told her where the picture was at. She moved the picture. The safe was behind it, and he read the combination to her over the phone. Now, when she opened up the combination, opened up the safe with the combination, there was a little money in there. Wasn't a lot, there's a little bit. Now, this was a small safe, but what Sarah didn't understand was that he was testing her because this safe was nothing. But he wanted to see if he could trust her. And she knew that this was not the type of money after you put in 4 months that you walk away with and be satisfied with, because she was going to have to split it with her. She knew what the deal was, so she didn't tell bro what this was about. So she opened up the safe, got the money out, and took it to folks, and folks took care of his business, and she went on her way. Later on that night, he broke her off with a little money, told her thank you and all this and that, and said, I hope to see you this weekend. So that weekend, she dropped by, and she stayed that weekend with him. Instead of going home, she stayed that weekend. She had a babysitter, because this is the long game. This is the long hustle. You understand? Think about Lil' Kim and how they used to do back in the day. That's what they say now. I don't know her. You know what I mean? But anyway, she got him. He thinks that he can trust her with his cash. She's giving him, listen to me now, this is how a lot of people are. If you give your body, if you give yourself to most people, right? Unless they know that you are in the streets, or whatever the case may be, and when I say in the streets, I mean prostituting or whatever the case may be, most people, even in those situations, most people think that there is something there. Because that's a very, if not the most intimate act that you'll do. Sharing your body with a man or a woman. So he thought there was something there. Because, you know, when you're in the streets and you're doing all kind of dirt, it messes up your ability to be able to discern fiction from fact. It has you where you don't think you can trust anybody. So you do all of these things all the time, over and over, trying to prove to yourself that you can trust them. And that's what that was when he asked her to go to the house and open up the safe and bring him that money. That was just one of the ways, even though he did need the money, that was just one of those things that he was doing to see, can I trust her? And his lack of being able to trust had nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with himself, because he was in the streets, and in the streets, you learn not to trust anybody. So that bled over into any type of relationship that he had, whether it was casual or otherwise. So now he's looking at Sarah like, she's not like these other girls. She goes home every night. You feel me? He thinks because of the way he met her that there's something genuine. He met her at a grocery store, not knowing that this was the setup. You see? So now he starts to pull her in more and more. So after that weekend, they started to make plans to go out of town together, spend more time together, and so on and so forth. And he told her, he said, I want to show you something. Not right now, but it's something I want to show you. I think you're special. I think you're special, and you deserve to be treated better. So he gave her a lot of money. She went back to the house, took care of the business, and all this and that. But the whole time, she's understanding, this is business. It's not personal. This is business. But see, let me explain something to you about what had happened to Sarah. Because of all the things that she had been through, her whole way of discerning had been skewed as well. She didn't know if she could trust either. So she was willing to compartmentalize to the point to where she would give herself to somebody to take care of her kids. She said, I'm doing this for my kids. But in that world, regardless of the reason that you're doing it, it still has this corrupting ability to turn you into something that you really don't even understand is going to that when you look in the mirror, and let's put it that way, when you look in the mirror, you're not going to recognize yourself. You're not going to understand what's going on because you're not putting two and two together and saying the way I've been treated reflects in the way that I treat myself. Not others, but the way I treat myself. Because the way she's treating herself by engaging and indulging in something like she was doing is saying that I don't love myself. But she felt like she had to do this, so she kept doing it. She kept doing it. So after a couple of more months, he put her on the spot. He takes her into this other part of the state where he's got a nice house hidden away. Nobody really knows about it. None of the people he works with or anything, right? So she lets folks know. Folks ask, do you know where the safe is? Where's the money? She said, not yet. But she got on it. It took a couple of more months, right? Now keep in mind now, we are already 7 months into this hustle. 7 months into the hustle. And except for that one weekend, she's always going home at night to be with her babies. You understand? But she's having sex with him every time she sees him. But it's not personal to her, it's business. So now he shows her the safe. He needs her to help him count some money. And when I say count some money, I'm talking about real money. They had the machines, and they were counting by hand. They were doing it all, putting a lot of money away. And he was telling her that he had feelings for her. He didn't say, I love you, but I got feelings for you. So she played her role and said, I got feelings for you too. But the whole time, she was thinking about how this money was going to change her life and the life of her kids. She didn't concern herself with how they were going to get it and get away with it. She didn't want to think about that because in the back of her mind, she knew no way in the world they can leave this man walking and there don't be some repercussions. So she called folks and she tell folks, look here, I know where the safe is at. I know where the money's at, the locked room the money's in. This is easy. She gives him all the information and he says, we got it. Don't worry about anything else. They agreed on everything. She told him what it was and he ran with it. Now, it's time for her to go ghost and get out of the way. Man, let me tell you something. She had never, ever allowed dude to come to her house to meet her kids. He didn't even know where she gave him a fake address. He didn't even know where she lived. Anytime that he would drop her off or come to see her, it would be at one of the folks' stash houses. So he thought she lived in one area when she actually lived in another. He knew that she had kids, though. She talked about her kids and how she had to go home every night. He knew that much. But other than that, he didn't know much about her, not truth anyway. So folks then paid him a visit. They didn't care that he was at the house. That wasn't an issue with them. They drop in, they fill up the bags, they get everything in there. Everything. And then they put in work on him. No, they don't kill him. They beat him to the, I'm talking about when I say to the ooh, wee, good golly, that's what they did. But when they left him, they figured that he wouldn't make it. And they set the house on fire. He somehow gets out, though. Somehow gets out. But when they get him to the hospital, he's got brain damage. He can't remember nothing. He's a vegetable. He don't know what's going on. And now, Sarah's got what she needs. She's got all the money that she's going to need for a long time. So her and a couple of her female friends, they decide, because she's helping them out, they decide it's time for them to move to a better area so that their kids can be better off and have a better opportunity than they can. So, let me put it to you like this. This situation is just beginning. Sarah has been abandoned by Blue, so she has to do it herself. She has to figure out what she's going to do to take care of her kids. And sometimes when you're left particularly in her situation, and when you're around a certain type of dude, you find yourself doing things that you wouldn't normally do. And that's this story, y'all. And I'm going to tell you the rest of this story when you tune in tomorrow for the next episode. Check me out. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I said, peace, y'all.